All
Hello,
right.
everyone, and welcome to the Everything Considered podcast with me, April, your host. I am once again joined by Tim O'Davis. He is very insightful, and he's got some things to share with us today with our audience, and I'm really excited about it. Thank you, Tim, for coming back and joining us today.
Hi, April. It's nice to see you.
It's good to
Happy
see you
holidays.
too. Happy holidays to you. We are on the precipice of the new year, January 1st. And you mentioned today that a good topic would probably be intentions. I think it's right on time.
Yeah, it's a beautiful topic. And when we adopt a spiritual path, there's so much about it that is really helped by having a clear set of intentions. Everything that happens in life seems to be um, part of a beautiful plan, but sometimes it can distract us if we don't sort of keep our attentions focused. And
Mm,
I've talked to you about. I live at the Temple of the Universe. Anybody who's familiar with the work of Michael A. Singer, The Untethered Soul, Surrender Experiment, etc. And so I've been here for 30 years, 33 years, and we have, I think, since long before I came, we've done a New Year's Eve um, fire where we actually write down what we want to let go of in our life.
mm,
And it's a really, it's a beautiful version of an ancient fire ceremony. I was researching this the other day, and they point to fire ceremonies being around for 4,000 years, between 3,500 and 4,000 years.
mm,
And the sort of the idea is that Agni, Sri Agni, the fire god of the Hindu world, is a connection between humans and the gods. That's a way that we can kind of communicate with that. And I love that idea, whether it's literally true or figuratively true or however we like to use that. The act of standing in front of a fire and throwing those thoughts written on a piece of paper
mhm.
into it that you want to let go of is really powerful. And if I suggest that for people who want to have a nice little backyard ceremony for their afternoon, for that evening of New Year's Eve, to light a little fire, even if it's in a hibachi, and throw your list in there, what you'd like to let go of.
I love that. There is something about symbolism that kind of ingrains, almost imprints our memory and helps us to I don't know, like really commit to whatever it is we've decided to let go of. I love that you brought up let go first because I think uh we go, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and this will happen and that'll happen. And so we're adding all these things
Yeah, yeah.
and it just feels that I think that's why it feels overwhelming because you're adding things but you're not letting go of anything. So you're carrying all these expectations of yourself. And meanwhile, you've been carrying all these other things. So letting go is I think a really powerful way to enter 2024.
Gosh, I couldn't agree more. When you like so many of the goals that we set are around these measuring points that kind of indicate that we aren't good enough, right? Like that we need
Mm,
to lose weight or we need to run more miles or we need to add things into our schedule, whatever. And there's just kind of a mentality behind that we're not good enough as we are. And
mhm,
the construct of letting go is that we're born in a really beautiful state. We're pure consciousness before we even know who our parents are, before we know what language we speak, before we know anything about our world. We're little babies, right? And they spank us and we just cry, to get that first breath going. And consciousness exhibits itself immediately at that point. And that sense of consciousness, unadulterated, no traumas added, no pain added, is just a really pure and beautiful state. And a lot of really what we're trying to do in our spiritual path is to get back to that state, to get back to that pure sense of consciousness, awareness. That's without judgment of self, just being okay with who we are and why we are. And letting go is an attempt to get back to that state instead of adding, as you said, we're trying to peel away the layers of conditioning and trauma and pain that we accumulate in life and that we don't handle well, and in an effort to get back to a really pure state.
I love that. I think that's a perfect way to start the year, not being burdened by so much of that that you've carried. Don't take it into 2024.
Yeah.
Leave it behind, and then you'll feel lighter. And if you want to set intentions, things that you want to add, it won't be so difficult to carry them.
Couldn't agree more. So within that sort of construct is, I like to personally, I like to connect with my higher purpose, right? Like that's where I start. And so everybody's got a different version of that, a different way they name God or call whatever it is that's not them that controls so much of our lives, whether it's luck
Hmm.
or, whatever it is that we pray to, hope for, wherever we aim our intentions. So for me, it's just getting closer to that, getting sort of less of the personal, less of the ego, and less of who I'm not, right?
Right.
So that's my first step is to get closer to God. That's my personal, pointer, right? Is that is my pole star value. And whatever that means, I almost let that float out into the universe, but that's my standing intention. So after that, it's about connecting with that higher purpose. Like, what am I going to do to, what are we going to do to kind of get there? And so letting go is a really great one, right? We just talked about that. So when we look back at the year that we just came through, like what was it that really caused us pain, confusion, um, trauma, or anxiety? And just look at all of those things and try to figure out what was our role in
Mm.
that. What could we have done to help let go of those things? And what is it inside ourselves that needs something from the people, places, and things that we feel perhaps let us down. So
Mm.
it's a really it's a really firm way of approaching that which we need to let go of is by consulting your pain, honoring your pain.
Right. So doing a little inquiry around what has not been skillful, what has not felt good to me in my body, what has hurt me, and and then thinking about what can I do to rectify that, that 2024 is not a repeat of 2023, right? In those areas, because there might have been some very good things about 2023, but I think all of us can find some area that could use improvement, that we could, things we've been carrying that we don't necessarily, we can choose not to, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I've seen, in my life is that certain patterns repeat themselves over and over again. And
Mhm.
I'll find myself saying stuff like, somebody did this to me again, and it's a
Ah.
completely different person and it's a completely different situation. But what I'm left with in my heart and in my sort of feeling is that something happened again, and there's some potential unfairness about life that happened again. So that's a great place to look. And in the theme of honoring your pain, like why go through pain if you're not going to learn something, right? And
Hmm.
so in that process of reviewing, where pain comes from, I've always found it most gratifying to really explore my own needs. Like what was it I really wanted from this situation? What was my ego seeking? And there's generally speaking, when there's two people, two things, two situations, they can both do something to make the situation better. But all we can do, is focus on our own play, our own part in that role. So that's what I do, and it seems to help. And part of the letting go too is to let go of what you expect from other people. Like it's really
Mm.
not fair to expect other people to make us happy, to put conditions on other people to make us happy. Even in close relationships, it's often not a productive ask. Let me just put it like that. That
Right.
that the more we bring to the relationship, the more love we bring to it, then typically things are going to work better. But that starts with looking at our own place in that situation. Is it transactional? Are we looking for something in return? So there's a whole sort of dynamic around looking at our pain that helps us to look at our own responsibility and what is it that we can change to make it better? What can we do with our expectations? The great way is not difficult. The third Zen patriarch, right? The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences.
Oh, yes. I love that. That's
And
perfect.
that's a beautiful way to kind of frame your pain. Is what was my preference that was abused or not met that left me with this pain, and letting go of those preferences, or at least acknowledging them, right, April? Like sometimes
Yes.
it's hard to let go of them. It's just a big ask to let go, but just acknowledging that we have needs, and that when they're not met, it hurts. And if we
Yes.
work on the needs, that's a great place to start. And that's a great version of letting go too.
I think too, and this is something I've witnessed myself doing over the years, is we assign motive to people. We know there's a story that we start to tell ourselves about, why they were late or why they didn't do this, or we have all these unspoken expectations, and then we create a story and kind of like a drama, an internal drama about it, and that just increases our pain. When all the while we could probably just cop to not really knowing, you know, you know?
Oh my God, that's such a great point. Like I see that all the time. Like we just start telling ourselves stories in our head, or worse, fear the stories that other people are thinking about us, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's such a trap, right? To be so concerned with what people are thinking about us. So, but you're so right. Like just that idea that we're creating a story, and we're always the victim in our little story.
That's right.
Something is horribly wrong, and we shouldn't have to deal with this. But
It's so true. We immediately go to the victim stance, I love Byron Katie has a quote, and I hope I don't botch it up, but she says, "What other people think is about me is none of my business."
so beautiful. It
And I
really is
love
true.
that. Yeah, because we could save ourselves a lot of pain if we weren't projecting these ideas about why people do what they do and making it very personal. So maybe that's, at least for me, that's a definitely an intention to go into 2024 doing a lot less of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful example of so a goal that people could set for the new year would be to be more authentic, to be more themselves, right? To be more comfortable in their own skin. But really, half of that, three-quarters of it, 90% of that is just letting go of how you worry about what other people say about you, right?
Mm, so
Because
true.
authenticity is just the pure expression of who you are, unfiltered by fear, anxiety. But it takes a while to get there. So it's a process, right? But letting go is a great way to start.
Yes, I love that. That's perfect. I think that will definitely resonate with a lot of us. Because we have now, we have social media, and there's this whole like, why didn't they like my post? Maybe that,
Mm,
or why didn't they share it? Or, there's all these narratives that we take up, even more so than I think we did before, without all that. And
yeah.
so that's tough. That's a challenge for our species that we haven't had before,
It
to
sure
that
is
degree.
true. It's like our bodies are designed by evolution to be afraid, right? Or to be always on guard. Let's put it that way. Like anxiety and fear and trauma are often a result of just a mind that's overly tuned to finding threats. And rarely in our lives do we face physical threats. I mean, it happens sometimes, certainly, but our egos are like literally always under attack if you were to ask our mind. Is
Yeah.
it really true? No. It's just like we should be enjoying our days instead of fearfully trying to catch every potential threat to our ego and to the way people think about us. But
Mm.
yes, so another thing that I'd like to offer around that is something that if you're familiar with the untethered soul, and the Temple of the Universe talks, is this the idea of relax and release, right? And it's not just Mickey who has obviously been a proponent of relax and release, but it's a really powerful way to approach the new year, because you can kind of set a line. January 1st, every time I feel anxiety, every time I feel stress, every time I feel like something's not right, I'm going to relax. I'm going to
Mm.
release. And, I work with men in the prisons, like I've shared with you before. And I literally had one of them tell me the other day, like he's just gotten released from prison, and he's on very strict regimen. He has to report, he has to be in certain places at certain times. He can't just so he was at risk of missing a reporting moment. and he was in a store, and there was a baby crying. He was waiting in line, and the line was taking too long. And every time that I go to prison, I do this relax and release technique with him. Usually it's sort of hidden in the sense of a meditation, but
Mm.
he just, this is what he did, and here's what I teach. Just lean back for a minute. Just feel a sense of your chakras or your chest opening, and take a deep breath. Breathe in through your nose, count of 4. Just let it hold for a second, and then breathe out of your mouth to a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I swear, April, if you do that 3 times, and if you can afford to shut your eyes, if it's safe to shut your eyes or not socially constrained against shutting your eyes, you can create just a little bit of space between the stimulus, the baby crying, the fearfulness of being late, the anxiety. You can create space between that stimulus and the response that you make to it, whether it's having cortisol flood your body with fear or anger, or being grouchy or unhappy with other people that you're waiting in line with or whatever. And you can just take a break. Viktor Frankl said that the in that moment between stimulus and response, you have the ability to change your future. And that's the moment when you do really create your future. And so that's another thing I'd like to offer for the New Year's, this whole relax and release scenario where you start to notice mindfully that stress, anxiety is coming, and you just take a breath and reset to your best self before you take another drink on New Year's Eve, before you over party, before you yell at the kids, before you go in the house and be grumpy with your spouse. Just take a deep breath and relax, please. It works.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Yeah.
inmate that my friend who was recently released just came back and said it changed his whole day because he just calmed down and everything fell into place. And it's amazing when you let go of your own energies, the rest of the world seems to cooperate somehow. I don't know what that is, but
Yeah,
that's,
I think it definitely impacts people around you. When you're calm, they kind of naturally calm down, you know.
yeah.
I worked in emergency medicine, and one of the things that I learned was to slow my voice down. Um, you know, to not be in a hurry, to slow down. And people would start to kind of imitate that back. Like they were
Mm,
really, you know, they were really flustered and upset and stressed. And then when I started to talk slower and calm, they would kind of start to reflect that. And I do feel like that's a great exercise to do before you are in a situation that you might feel like you could become reactive, is to stop and
mm.
do that breathing exercise. It's very powerful. I felt calmer just doing it.
Felt calm by your talking slow. It just kind of slowed me down. It's beautiful. It's
Yeah, it's very helpful. It's helpful to you because it calms your neurology down, you know, and
mhm,
but it also, I think, does that for others. We do impact others with our energy.
mm. It's so true.
I love that.
So that's relax and release. And really beyond that is, I would say that as people do set goals, really make sure that they align with that higher purpose that we talked about earlier. So if you make a goal set around mindfulness with the intention of meditating more or doing more walking or exercise, just make sure it really supports your overall vision for who you want to be, and not just some ego driven, like skinnier, better
Yeah.
looking, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it supports inner growth. And last but not least, is important points on this, is that kindness, kindness to yourself, kindness to others, be flexible with your mission, your goals. Life can do a lot. And in our ability to be kind to ourselves and to others is so much healing.
Mm.
That kindness, that just that result, that flipping the kindness switch, it does everything that we've talked about. It slows everything down. It makes everything just a little bit nicer. It brings a higher energy to everything. And to reward people who are being a jerk to you by being kind back to them is the ultimate in making life better for yourself and others. And it is possible. Nobody needs to be taught by any of us. We're not here to teach. We're not here to punish. We're here to make life better for everybody. So let's answer whatever comes to us in life with kindness.
Yes. Yeah, starting with yourself, because I think that's something that I ran into over the years is I would make an intention and something would happen, life would happen and it would break the continuity of the rhythm that I had. And then I would be so harsh with myself. You failed, you didn't follow
Mhm.
through, like that inner narrative, that inner dialogue of just, it's abusive, really. I mean, I don't think we would talk to others the way we talk to ourselves sometimes. And then you can't get back up. It's really difficult to get back into it because who is motivated by being criticized, right?
It just puts up a barrier, puts up a wall, and now you've got yet another problem to overcome in addition to the original problem that caused the friction in the first place.
Yeah. So if I can't do that for myself, I'm certainly going to have a difficult time,
Mhm.
doing it for others, extending them kindness and grace when they make mistakes or don't live up to, my expectations or what have you,
Mm.
so we can give each other a little rope and just be patient and loving and kind. I think it was beginning with ourselves. So it's really hard to give what you don't have.
Yes. Hey, question for you. If you as you think back on your life and the different things you've done on New Year's Eve and perhaps different resolutions or, letting go, whatever, which one stands out to you that you really remember to this day that really helped you the most, that really powered you forward?
Hmm. I think I think the biggest one is what we just talked about. It was deciding not to give people the benefit of the doubt,
Mm,
to
mm,
not think poorly of, to go to a place of I don't know, to be more teachable, to be more open. I think for me, I can remember a time where it's like, we're not going to do this anymore. We're
mm,
we're going to stay stay in our own lane and work on ourselves and stop trying to fix everybody else or think that they're flawed or that they need repair, and stop judging their motives because you don't know them, you know so that's very impactful. And of course I've done all the cliche ones, right?
yeah, yeah.
Exercise more, and those are meaningful. Those are good things to take better care of your health. But I think the biggest one for me was just to get out of the business of being in everybody's business.
Mm, mm.
Because I'm a helper. I'm a person who wants to help, but sometimes that can translate into savior, and that's not what I'm here for. But,
I love, that so I love all religions. I don't pick one or any, but I love in the Bible that it says judge not, you know?
yeah.
And like how hard is it for
Ooh,
so many of us in whatever worlds we exist in to not judge other people or and like you said so beautifully like to judge ourselves so harshly like
mm,
gosh like
yeah,
it's such a weight to bear but
it is.
oh,
And I think that's where all judgment begins, is, that it all starts with ourselves. We have to do our own inner work, and we need to love ourselves and give ourselves a break and be easy with
mm,
ourselves. And that translates into doing that for everybody else.
it's beautiful. I don't think there's a higher thing to do with a new year than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one I have to renew though frequently.
Well, every year it gets a little more powerful, right? As you're
Yes.
able to stay more mindful and to go a little deeper because at the end, like the ultimate expression of what you just said, if I'm listening carefully enough, is unconditional love for everybody,
Hmm.
right? Which is pretty much what we're called to do by most every spiritual or religious tradition,
Yeah.
is to keep our hearts open and to just love everybody. We don't
I
have to give everything away. We don't have to devote all of our energy to service, but as much as we can just keep our hearts open and contribute in the ways that make sense and seem clear and suit our being, suit our way.
Yeah, and not what we think somebody needs, but what they really need. Sometimes somebody just needs you to be there with them,
Yeah.
that's all. But it's very tempting to start like analyzing them. You need this and you should do that. And,
Mm, mm,
that's not, it's not helpful if that person's need is to simply have you hold their hand or be with them as they're, going through something difficult.
yeah.
So,
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
Well, that's a beautiful way to look forward to the new year, just with love
yes,
and open heart and trying to create a better version of ourselves and be better for other people.
yes, yes. Yeah, I'm excited about this year. I feel like people are starting to kind of like we're all starting to kind of understand how important that is, how important it is to love and to slow down. Like you said, I love that Viktor Frankl quote, and I
Mm,
love that book. Um, to slow down and to breathe and to so that you don't go into a situation potentially reactive.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the whole point of mindfulness, right? Is to kind of have that early signal that something's not right, so that you're about to act out in a way that's not really supporting who you want to be or why you want to be that way. And
Mhm.
so meditation's great, to keep track of all that.
Absolutely. And you have are you still doing the Tuesday mornings?
I am. Every Tuesday
Great.
morning you can find a link at timodavis.com. And but yes, I'm doing meditations, guided meditation. Um, I'm not sure there's a better game changer in the world than meditation in terms of self-knowledge and understanding why we do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So, well, this is anything else, Tim, that you'd like to share with us, or did we do it justice?
No, I I I think what we've done is to keep it simple, right? It's about letting
Mhm,
go. It's about getting to who you really are, not adding more, not trying to be somebody else. It's about honoring your pain, relaxing and releasing, and just staying
mhm.
connected with your higher purpose and let that guide everything that you do. And those are intentions that can guide every activity that you make, every action you take. It's just staying mindfully aware of what your purpose is and then giving yourself the break to
Yeah,
actually do it.
beautiful, beautiful. Well, Tim, thank you so much for coming on today again with us. I look forward to having you on often, so you're always welcome to come back.
Oh,
Please
thank you.
do.
I love it.
And I'm going to put in the notes on when I post this, all of the relevant information about you and how people can get a hold of you and the different services that you offer. And I thank you once again for coming on and Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, April. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Bye now.